Boom. Looks good. So this might be a little sloppy because we're half winging it, but
it's fine.
Welcome back to Absolutely the Best Podcast, a work in progress. I'm Zach. With me, as always, is my good friend George.
Hey.
This is Series 1, Episode 17, and today we were supposed to have a special episode with spoiler-free coverage of the newly released Deadpool and Wolverine, but there's been a change in plans. We can't do it spoiler-free and have it be a discussion. So if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want it spoiled, I'm sorry, you're going to have to save this one for later.
Or you can just, are we going to give them the option to jump away after a certain point?
I thought about that. Maybe check the notes. I thought about that, but like I in terms of making like having a discussion that's spoiler free, and then one that's got spoilers, I think it's gonna just break it up too much. It's too hard. Like you're gonna say something that's spoiler free, and I'm gonna be like, well, what about this? And then that's gonna be a spoiler. We're not gonna be able to talk about it. So,
because I was thinking maybe we give our initial reaction spoiler free, like, you know, it's impossible to mention cameos, right, and then but just not mention specific ones, and then say, okay, we're going into it now, so jump away.
We can try that. I had thought about maybe having something to like jump to the end for the ratings, but I can't guarantee it would be spoiler free. So if you want to try to give like an overall impression that's spoiler free, I say go for it. But something else spoiler free I wanted to jump into first was the Avengers Doomsday announcement.
Oh, Dr. Doom.
Yes. Maybe that's a spoiler if you haven't seen the announcement, but I'm talking about
it's a couple of years from now.
Yeah. So what did you think of that?
You know, when you and I were discussing how like, a Tony Stark gone bad variant, right? Yeah, I was like, oh, that actually could work. But then when I started reading that, like, people are saying it's not a Tony Stark variant, I started going, oh, well, then that's just kind of lazy. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think we won't know until it actually comes out whether it's a variant or not. Right?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the talk about, you know, that it's not a Tony Stark gone bad from another timeline or whatever. I hope that that's just a lie to cover up the fact that they're pissed everybody figured it out already.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Garfield kept on saying he wasn't in No Way Home.
Exactly, right? That was exactly what I was going to say. It's not the first time Marvel has lied to us about that. If it's just stunt casting, if they're just putting Robert Downey Jr. in it to get butts in seats,
I'm fine with that too.
I was going to say, like, that's the worst option.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still go see it, but if it's garbage, that might be the beginning of the end.
If it brings people to the theaters and then it's awesome, even without RDJ, I'm good.
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. There was something else. Oh, did you see the Alien Romulus trailer before Deadpool?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It looks good.
It looks really good.
I really want to see it.
My hopes are probably too high.
I kind of hate that trailer because I was like, this looks like it'll be awesome. So I'm and then you saw the popcorn. You saw the popcorn tin, right?
Popcorn bucket. Yeah. That looks pretty awesome. I need one for my wall or the kids' room.
We'll call it the kids' room.
Yeah, the Alien Romulus trailer, it made it look so good, and you know, I am a little worried that it might not be, but Alien 1, 2, 3, 4, I like them all. Like I know people don't like Alien 3, I know people don't like Alien Resurrection. I still think they're good. I like Prometheus, it's fine, and Alien Covenant. That's pretty good too. So, I mean, I think it's going to be at least pretty good.
Yeah. Aliens for me, or the Alien franchise for me, is the Fast and the Furious for a lot of folks. You know what I mean? I think Fast and the Furious is just dumb.
Yep.
Like, you really have to turn off your brain. But at least Aliens, I can at least have my sci-fi fix. And I'll gripe about like how fast the alien gestates
That's
and
my
stuff.
biggest worry.
Yeah. So I mean, God, I hope they go back to it making sense.
Yes.
But yeah, everything I saw in that trailer looked awesome.
Yeah. So I think I will expect them to mess up the timing on the alien gestation, and be happy if they don't. I'll be happy if they're at least consistent within their own movie.
Yeah. When did they start speeding that up, by the way? Was it
the only so I feel like in I feel like it was in Alien Covenant where it kind of seemed to go pretty fast, but the first time I really noticed the problem was Alien vs Predator. Like the Alien vs Predator movies are garbage. I do not like those, but in the first one it was where it would happen like almost instantaneously sometimes, and then other times it would take a while, and that was worse than being different from the other movies. Is like you can't even be consistent within your own film.
Yeah.
But anyways, so let's we're here to talk about Deadpool now. Now this almost didn't happen. We're recording this after recording the Spider-Man Homecoming episode, but we're going to release it beforehand, and you will hear on the Spider-Man episode that I was much sicker than I sound now. I had COVID for the first time, and I've tested negative since Saturday. It's now Monday. I was feeling great until last night when I started getting dizzy and nauseous, and I think that's from the Paxlovid, maybe. I'm not really sure why. I was still testing negative, though. I went and worked out today, and I was hoping that would make it feel better, and it did. So shout out for free plug for Orange Theory Fitness there. And then I went straight to the movie theater and I had like some kind of greasy sandwich while I watched this movie. It was pretty good. Good time.
Nice.
So, I guess just to wrap up the last bit of the spoiler-free talk, you can give your initial impression, I guess, if you want. You can go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you sure you don't want to go first?
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think initial impressions, I was kind of like, holy shit. I think the best way to describe this movie for me is it is porn for comic book nerds. It's like a comic book nerd's wet dream.
I can see
for
that.
the most part,
Sure.
you know, like you know how in Avengers, Captain America was doing that whole thing where he goes, I understood that reference. Mm-hmm. And if you watch this movie with a comic book nerd, or if you are a comic book nerd, the entire movie is you doing that over and over again.
So, I've heard that from other people before I saw it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to miss a bunch of stuff. But I felt like I saw a lot of things that were comic book movie references. So I was picking up on that. So I'm wondering what I missed. Obviously, don't say it now. But
I'll save some. I'll save some for later, for the jump.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is, I think the cameos. There are so many cameos from so many timelines.
Yep.
And so many scenes from different story arcs in the comic books. And somehow it fucking works. Like the bulk of those cameos, and this one isn't like a spoiler, but the bulk of those cameos happen in The Void, which hopefully if you've watched last season of Loki, you kind of know what that is. Right?
Okay.
So, but you don't even need that to watch. You don't even need that understanding to watch this movie. But like, as I was saying, like a good chunk of those cameos, all those characters and the variations of characters that end up showing up, it's not entirely gratuitous. There's definitely some fan service there, but I loved it. But yeah, long story short, I thought this movie was just fucking fun. It's the ultimate buddy flick. There
weren't any cameos I saw that took me out of it. I mean, it's a movie designed to take you out of it, I guess. Except for fourth wall breaking and everything, right? But yeah. There weren't any cameos that I thought were, I don't know, just there to be a stunt or something. I can't.
Yeah, like Wonder Woman doesn't show up out of nowhere.
Right.
Like you wouldn't be like, what the? I mean, it's you know, like they're buddy cop movies. This is like a buddy superhero movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a little slow in some parts, and it's definitely not perfect. But I just came away thinking that, holy shit, this thing is fun. And like Ryan Reynolds, if there was an award for somebody that actually gets the character that they play, like he gets Deadpool. Like if there's a nerd, if there's like a nerd equivalent to like a 21 gun salute, comic book nerds everywhere would be doing that after each screening. But yeah, I feel like I caught most of the Easter eggs in one sitting, but I feel like there has to be more, and I kind of feel like you have to watch 2 more times at the minimum to catch them. I'm
sure there's all kinds of stuff in the background that you're not paying attention to.
Yeah, like there's a bunch. I mean, we'll get into it later, but there's a bunch I saw in the background that I was like, but that's how I felt.
Okay. So I was unable to completely avoid people's opinions on it.
Oh no,
sorry. No, it's not just you, but a lot of people really, really hyped it up. And so I think for me, especially in like the first like half an hour, 40 minutes, it was a little rough for me. I was like, this is not that good. And I was a little let down.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Again, it was not just you. Yeah. And if it had been just you, I probably wouldn't have had my hopes that high because you like stuff way more than I do.
That is true.
But I think I'm going to try not to get into spoilers here. I think most of what my issue is with the movie as a whole is that they have made this an MCU movie. And I don't think it belongs in the MCU because I feel like it's like making fun of the MCU so much, and it kind of and it's kind of undoing, which is fine. I think it's funny. I'm not like precious about it, but it shouldn't be within the MCU. Like it's reminding you that it's fake, and I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me to make this an official MCU movie. I don't think it needs to be. Like you can pull things from whatever you want, right? But there's all these non-MCU films that they have pulled characters from. So now are those retroactively MCU as well? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I was really hung up on that, and I know that's my problem. But if they hadn't said that this is part of the MCU, I would not have been thinking that and have enjoyed it more, I think.
I might have an answer for you on that one, but like that's for later.
Okay.
After
so this. In short, I did enjoy it. I laughed a lot, especially like once I got past like the first 40 minutes or so, enjoyment factor went way up. Totally worth seeing, and I regret nothing.
How did you feel about the fourth wall breaking in She-Hulk when the Kevin machine?
I like that. I actually like that a lot, but that's a TV show, which I feel is separate from the MCU, but not really because there are events that cross over. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, fair point. I did like that, but it wasn't just the fourth wall breaking here, though. A lot of it was, how they pulled in characters from other movies that have nothing to do with the MCU. Well, not nothing. They're all comic book characters, right? But anyways, I feel like I'm talking in circles about that, trying not to say anything spoilery. So should we move on to the spoilery stuff?
Yes. This is where people should just jump off if they don't want to.
Agreed. Yes. So last warning, we're going to start talking spoilers any second now. And then do you want to continue with your thoughts on it?
Do you want to go into the details of the movie, or do you want to just talk about the movie? So I'm interested in what you just said, like that the stuff that you said.
So specifically, before I saw the movie, but we decided that we were going to do this, I was jotting down notes for maybe things we could talk about. One of the things I wanted to discuss was, is this movie Deadpool 3 or is it its own thing? Because they called it Deadpool and Wolverine. So I thought maybe they were trying to distinguish it from Deadpool 1 and 2, and then maybe that's why it is an MCU movie. But it's very clearly Deadpool 3 because they talk about things that happened in the first two. They show clips of it. They're pulling characters from them.
They even said Cable didn't test well, and that's why he's not in episode 3.
Yes. I like Cable.
I liked him too.
Then, so they have characters from X-Men movies, from Logan, from I just wrote FF.
Fantastic Four.
Thank you. I'm like, not Final Fantasy. Yeah, characters from Fantastic Four, and
did you also were you also feeling like that was Captain America that was about to be unveiled?
Oh right? Yeah. Well, no, I didn't know who it was before he pulled his hood back. Yeah. But when he pulled his hood back and it was Chris Evans, I was like, oh sweet, Chris Evans, and I assumed it was Captain America, but then it's Johnny Blaze, and that was pretty great. I like that.
That was a good. I knew it wasn't going to be Cap, but like I still thought it was Cap because they dressed him up in like. There's a storyline where Cap is like in the after all the heroes are dead and stuff, and Captain America is like one of the last few left alive, and they had like he had that same hooded apocalyptic like look to him, and then when I was like, oh shit, I was like, it is Captain America. And right when they were like Avengers, and then he was like flame on, I started cracking up. It's hard not to crack up at all those like head fakes. It's so funny.
Did his eyes look weird to you? Like weird and small?
Yeah, it did. I didn't quite get like I don't know if they just put too much eye makeup or something, or
something strange about it. Maybe he's getting old or something. Maybe he had an eye job.
I don't know.
Anyway, so like I said, the first 40 minutes or so were kind of rough. I felt like the trailer that I did see, the trailers that I saw, had given away so much of that. Like every laugh that was supposed to happen, I wasn't laughing at because I'd already seen it several times. So I was like, oh man, did the trailers tell me the whole movie was not the case? Right? It gets a lot better later on.
So when the scene, so even the beginning scene didn't get you? Like the bye montage, and he was killing everybody with Logan's body parts.
That was pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good. Let me jump back 1 second here. The beginning, they started in the middle of the movie.
Oh,
right? It needs to be really good and I felt it was good enough here. I was okay with it, but as soon as it started, I was like, "Fuck, they're starting in the middle of the movie," and then it seemed like maybe they weren't. And I was like, "Oh, okay, like he hasn't messed with the timeline yet," but he had. I was incorrect there, because then he's like, "Well, let's jump back," and then they build back up to it, and it was fine. That was fine, but I just did think it was funny that they started in the middle.
I think they did that. Now that I think about it, I think they did that for sure with Deadpool 1. I don't know if they did that probably with Deadpool 2. Because like in Deadpool 1, it started on the freeway.
Right. Yeah.
And then he goes back, and then he works their way back to the freeway.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah. So I don't always hate it, but it's got to work, and it worked.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That fight scene to me was the fight scene I love the most in the MCU currently is the elevator fight with Captain America.
Oh yeah, of course.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I think this one is it's a close. I feel like this one beats that by just a hair.
What? Are you out of your mind?
I think it's because I was laughing the whole time, and then it was just such a good way of killing everybody. And then that one part where he bounces his sword off the ground.
Cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Because that guy kept on that guy was insulting Canada. That was
okay. Yeah.
And then he did like get my country's name out of your mouth or something. That cracked me up. So I think it was like the creativity of the fight scene plus like how I was just laughing. I think that's what edges it out for me.
It didn't. So I guess to me, it didn't seem that creative. It was like it's variations on the same kill. He's using the adamantium skeleton of the dead Wolverine to impale these guys. And a lot of times it was like the bones were razor sharp, even though it was a femur. Right? But whatever, it's fine. This is an over the top movie. I just did not think it was anywhere near that Captain America Winter Soldier fight in the elevator. I also thought that parts of that fight that you just mentioned, as well as other fights throughout, the fight choreography seemed kind of slow and lumbering. And I don't know, like not all of it. Just there was a few moments and in a few fights where I was just like, what's going on here? Are they, did they need to do a second take on this and they didn't have it in the budget? I don't know.
Maybe they mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
Like why they killed Chris Evans off first.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, they don't have the budget for it. That's great. It's a joke that won't never get old, huh? That's for sure. Speaking though of the skeleton of Wolverine, the first thing I looked at was, does he have a hole in the skull? Because didn't he get shot in the head at one point, and that's how he forgot everything, basically.
No, you're thinking about the Deadpool, the movie where Ryan Reynolds was playing Deadpool. That's Wolverine Origins.
Oh, okay.
With Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth. That's another movie altogether.
Is that not the first part of the Wolverine and then Logan?
No. Logan's its own separate story.
I could swear the Wolverine was at least I could swear it was at least the sequel to the Wolverine. It was done by the same guy, James Mangold.
I want to double. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
Okay.
We can always look it up.
I'm willing to say that the Wolverine, whatever X-Men Origins movie, that shouldn't be the first part, but I thought it was.
I mean, I feel like it was so terrible that people are just, it's like the orphan movie of the Wolverine series.
They were showing parts of that though in the mid-credits thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I like this movie. So like everything, right? Like Blade, for example, like Wesley Snipes and from I think was it Blade 3? Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds apparently supposedly had a lot of beef on that movie.
Oh, did they? I didn't.
Yeah, they hated each other apparently, or everybody hated Wesley Snipes. But then he showed up in this movie, and I was like, oh, because I love Wesley Snipes as Blade, and so seeing him show up just right after,
I really like to see him. That was great. Yeah. So let's jump to the cameos real quick then. Because since we keep talking about it, I loved every cameo that I picked up on. We talked about Chris Evans as Johnny Blaze, right?
Yep.
Blade and Electra were pretty unexpected. I wasn't expecting anything, but of all the characters I could have picked, they probably would have been pretty low on the list. Yeah. But I really liked them. That was a nice surprise. I was like, oh, that's great.
The internet ruined Electra for me. I sort of knew that she was showing up.
I'm so glad I avoided that one. But the one that I did not even recognize at first was Pyro.
Oh, Pyro. Really? You didn't recognize him?
I didn't recognize him at first. And it took me a few minutes of him being on screen and him finally lighting the fire in his hand. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh my God, it's the same actor from the first X-Men movie.
I think the first two? Actually, the third, he was in the third one too.
Was he in the third one? I don't know. I don't remember him being in any of them but the first one. But
I remember because I hated X3 so much because there was that scene in X3.
I do remember him being in it. Yes.
You remember when Magneto was crushing cars and turning, and then he would set the ball on fire.
Yep. Yes. As soon as you did the hand motion, I remembered.
Yeah, it was why would you need to do that? What was the point?
Yeah. Well, he just wants to feel like he's helping. But I really liked him in this. He was so good, and I was glad that they got the same actor back.
Yeah, it sucks because some people, they got the same actor for a lot of folks, but there was a Psylocke variant, and it wasn't oh shoot, I'm forgetting
Olivia Munn.
It wasn't Olivia Munn.
I didn't even notice the Psylocke variant.
Yeah, I just saw it in the background because X20 or X23 was fighting her.
So that was another one. I was glad to see her.
Great. I like her.
Yep. And but you mentioned Gambit. I think that was my favorite one because Channing Tatum as Gambit, and it was so ridiculous, but it was really good. It just made me laugh.
Did you get all the references that he was making?
Probably not all of them, but
because he's been trying to get a Gambit movie made for so long.
Channing Tatum has?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why he was in this movie. That's great. That's why there was a line in there where he was saying something like, I think I was born in here. In the void.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's because the voids where garbage just, or suppose just things just die from the MC, from the corners of the MCU.
Right.
I just thought that between his French accent and all these random things that he says as a joke, basically about himself and Gambit, it was great seeing that Gambit finally come to life and stuff.
The French accent really cracked me up. I mean, it was good, but or I guess it's like a Creole accent, right? Because it's like New Orleans, but
I think so. I don't know enough to if it's actually close to authentic sounding or not. But it was
I don't
good
either.
enough for
But
me.
it was hilarious. And then I like when like right after he says something the first time, Deadpool's like, I haven't seen Sling Blade in a while, so I'm going to need a refresher. That was great. What did you think about when he's trying to find a Wolverine? First of all, he sees the little Wolverine. That was great.
You know that's the comic accurate height
yes,
for Wolverine, right?
I did know that.
That part cracked me up.
Yeah. But then he's like, oh, from behind, you look just like Henry Cavill. And it is Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
He looked great. He would be a great Wolverine. And like
that's why everyone's saying that would be awesome.
Was that him or was that like some kind of... He was huge, dude. He was monstrous.
Have you seen him? He's Henry Cavill.
I know his shirt off. Not recently, anyway. Not since he left.
Not since he left your house.
Yeah.
No, he's huge. I think he's been like a huge like fan cast for a while. So everybody was just like saying, "Oh, like he's gonna be
I would watch a movie with him as Wolverine.
Right?
He looked great. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but like in the comic books, there was a thing called the Fastball Special.
Yes.
Yeah. So like as soon as like the mini Wolverine showed up, I was like, oh, that actually could work with a guy that small.
Yeah.
I was gonna say in those Wolverines, I don't know if you saw, but there was like the Wolverine with no hands, with like a right hand missing. That's from another storyline with like X-Men Apocalypse. That's why he has like all that crazy long hair.
Okay.
His hand actually was melted off by Cyclops.
Yikes.
Like in a fight. So that's why he only has like one claw.
Okay, so I want to complain a little bit more.
Yeah, no, go for it.
So I had a big problem with the pruning thing. So with the Void, basically. So what my problem was in the Loki series, people get pruned, right? They get hit with the baton or whatever, and then they disappear, and that's it. You never see them again. They're wiped from existence. I thought. I could be wrong.
No, yeah, you go into the Void, actually, now I think about it. And then the Elfreath is the guy that cleans up the Void by like just eating. It's like
so just like here.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember anybody going to the Void. But I do remember Elfreath or whatever it is you're saying there.
But you remember all the different Lokis that happen to be in the Void, right?
I remember there being a bunch of different Lokis. I don't remember that being the Void. I don't remember him getting pruned, basically. So I've only ever watched it once. I didn't love that.
That's right. You didn't like it as much as I did.
So I guess that all makes sense then. So that gripe is covered.
But that's what I was saying was like, that's why there's all these random variants and stuff that look like they don't belong into the MCU because they don't quite belong to the MCU. They're just like random notes and stuff that get thrown into this Void, and they turned them into a vehicle for, I guess, Wolverine and Deadpool.
What'd you think of Wolverine's mask when he finally pulls it up and over?
You know, I'm not a big fan of like the no iris thing.
That was the biggest. Like, it looked weird. It looks fine on Deadpool, and maybe it's just because I'm used to it after 3 movies. But
I mean, it looks great on Spider-Man too, right?
Yeah. I don't know why it didn't work here. I didn't like it. Fortunately, it doesn't wear it that long.
Yeah.
I had accidentally read a spoiler complaint. Didn't realize it was a spoiler. Somebody was just like I just saw Deadpool. My one complaint was that I didn't think that the eyes needed to be white.
Yeah.
And I almost engaged and was like, have you not seen another Deadpool movie? I thought he was talking about Deadpool, but then like once that happened, I was like, oh, I know what he was talking about now.
Yeah. So I think it's because you see his mouth like right there.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what is the eye?
And I also feel like it looked like he couldn't see where he was looking. And I'm sure he did not really have his eyes covered.
Right.
Because like same thing with Deadpool, like the mask is cut out and they digitally put that in.
Right.
But it looked weird to me. I didn't care for it.
Okay.
And so I only have one other complaint. I think I covered them all, and it's very minor. I have a science nitpick.
Oh.
There's a part where near the end where Paradox is talking about in order to undo what Cassandra Nova is doing with the I don't remember what he called the machine.
The Time Ripper.
Yeah, the Time Ripper. He's, they got to connect to this matter. One side is matter, the other side's antimatter, and they got to connect them
matter
together.
and dark matter or something.
It said antimatter.
Antimatter.
And he said that matter and when matter and antimatter meet, he's like, you'll be atomized, and that's not really correct. Antimatter is real, by the way, and when matter and antimatter connect or collide, they annihilate one another and release a huge amount of energy. So that was my one little nitpick. I was like, you wouldn't be atomized, you would be like wiped out of existence. So they wouldn't have come back from that. But also they weren't, well, I guess they're made of matter. They were touching antimatter. That would be really bad. But both of them could regenerate. So I don't know. It was passable.
Did you hear anything about the Like a Prayer song?
I did not hear anything about it, no.
Oh, like I'd read somewhere that I guess Madonna doesn't regularly allow people to license her songs.
Oh, really?
But they came to her with that special request, and she was like, "Oh yeah, sure, that sounds like." I think they let her watch an early screening of it, and then she approved them to use her song. And then I think when she finished watching the whole thing, she was like, you guys could actually. And then she had a big change for them that they didn't really think through. And then it was really obvious in the movie, like right when Wolverine shows up, and then he jams his claws into the other side, and then Madonna's song like goes off, the Like a Prayer song goes off.
Uh-huh.
I forget exactly what phrase, but all of a sudden it's just the music like starts blazing.
Huh.
Like that was her change that she had proposed, was that they jumpstart the song like right there at like that particular.
See,
I'm assuming it's there.
I thought you were going to say that's like his shirt should burn off.
No, I mean I'm sure everybody loved that too.
Yeah, that would have been a reshoot, so they probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that guy got really in great shape for this movie.
Yeah, dude. How old is he? He's got to be like 60, right?
55 or something.
Okay,
I think I saw. Yeah.
Did you did you watch the Hot Ones with him and Ryan Reynolds?
Not yet. It's on my list of things to do or things to have in the background.
It's absolutely worth watching.
Yeah.
But it's funny. He said Hugh Jackman on it he said that he saw Deadpool 1 like 3 days after announcing his retirement from the Wolverine character. And then he was like, oh, I've made a mistake. We need to get these characters together. And then, it took this long to actually make it happen. Yeah. But I thought it was interesting what he said. He was like, 3 days after he announced his retirement, he saw Deadpool 1. And so I'm like, well, I got to check those dates. And I guess it was May 8th, 2015. He made an announcement that that's when they were still shooting Logan, I think, or maybe it just started. Yeah. And he said that was the last time he was going to play Wolverine. And then Deadpool 1 didn't come out till February 12th, 2016. So he either saw an early screening or was being hyperbolic. But I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting thing that he said.
I feel like they've been friends for a while, but so maybe he did see an early screening.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
Yeah. I was reading that Kevin Feige was trying to talk him out of being Wolverine again. Because he was like, why would you, like, that ending for Logan was so perfect. Why would you want to retcon that in any way or undo that? But it ended up great.
They didn't really, although they said they were going to. Or I guess that what they said, they said something about like, how would we do that? How would we do this movie and still like honor the memory or of the end of that movie? And then they're like, we're not gonna. And so that's when I thought he was going to dig up. I thought he was going to dig up Wolverine and then he would still be alive or something, and that would have been dumb. But I do like what they did there. That was that opening fight scene.
Yeah, I know. Like, despite like we're going to keep honoring it, and then they desecrate his body by using his body to kill everybody. It did.
There was a lot of really funny lines in that part too.
Yeah.
I think that this is one I'm going to like better on the second watch.
Yeah,
and I will likely think that it ranks higher.
Worried I'm gonna like it less on the second run
because it's not fresh anymore.
Maybe it's not fresh, but I know that there's some things that annoyed me. Like, okay, well, so you can just take a sling ring and you can travel across different realities.
Right.
Like as long as you have enough, like because Cassandra Nova was never trained in how to use a sling ring, but all of a sudden she knew. But I guess you're supposed to agree, I guess, make the jump that she killed whatever variant of Doctor Strange landed in the void, took his sling ring, and also took his memories of how to use it. And then like
seems like she could do
I was
that.
like, oh, I was like, oh, so I guess part of me was like, then what was the point of Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange in the Mouth of Madness when if you don't need America Chavez to travel across realities then? But then I was like poking around the internet and I was like, oh, like those two stones on the sling ring, one was the reality stone and I forget what the other one was.
Oh, interesting.
And that's why I think she was able to like punch through the multiverse.
Okay.
But then that doesn't make sense either because they're like, oh, like the Infinity Stones only work in the universe that you take them from. So that part doesn't make sense again.
Right. Yeah. That is interesting. I was going to say in the first Doctor Strange, I remember talking about how the Ancient One said something to the effect of like being able to use the sling ring to travel throughout the multiverse. Oh, yeah. And I was like, so does that mean you can go between different universes? But I don't know. They didn't really expand on it there. So yeah, I think that's a valid gripe. A little bit of incontinuity there. What did you think of Cassandra Nova in general?
I thought she was fine. I mean, for some reason, like somebody that powerful, it doesn't really make sense to me why they would be okay just chilling in the void when they are really theoretically strong enough to, like, I mean, she was strong enough that the TVA was scared of her, right? And they made that deal with her.
Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. That would have come to me on enough viewings, I suppose. But as the character, go ahead. What?
I was gonna say she's great outside of that, not understanding her motivation for just being okay, hanging out in Paul Rudd's skull.
Yeah, I thought she was great. I hadn't thought of that though, but I thought she was a really interesting villain. And I really liked the part when she went to see Paradox and she was like messing with his head, sticking her
fingering him.
Yeah. And like, it was like coming out of his nose, but then like later coming out of his forehead and everything. I thought that the visual effects there were done really well too. That was really cool. There was one thing that did bother me though, now that you mention it. So they had to get Juggernaut's helmet so that she couldn't control them anymore or whatever. Right. So that was pretty cool. I like that part. They got the thing on her. And then, what's his name? Pyro shows up and shoots her a bunch of times, right? And so she's going to bleed out and die because she can't heal herself because she has the helmet on. That didn't make sense to me. Like, she can't, like, it's herself. She doesn't need to, like, shoot brainwaves out anywhere. That didn't.
Yeah, that was one of my gripes. Well, one of my gripes was, is it really so easy to beat up Juggernaut and just carve his helmet off his head? Because that thing's pretty affixed to him last I checked. I don't know. I can't remember. I feel like somebody's removed Juggernaut's helmet before because that was the only way to attack him psychically.
Yeah.
But your point stands that like if the helmet was meant to negate her power or negate her, I guess, her psychic powers, then why would then what stops her from still healing herself? Like does it just negate all her powers? Yeah,
it wouldn't make sense to me. It makes total sense to me how it negates her from affecting other people. Yeah. Didn't make sense to me why it would affect her. Yeah. Going back to getting the helmet, didn't X-23 cut off Juggernaut's head?
I don't know, you're not supposed to be able to do that, I don't think. At least in the comic book, he's so strong and near invulnerable. Like that was his thing, is that like once he starts moving.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just saw X-23 jumping at him with her arms crossed, and then next thing you know, somebody threw his helmet up there in a bag.
Yeah.
So
I don't know because they didn't show it.
Let's see, what else did I have for notes? I thought Nice Pool was hilarious. That was one of my favorite.
His kids are in there in part of the Deadpool core.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
I know what had been spoiled for me was that his wife, I forget her name right now,
Blake Lively?
Yes, that she.
I know that was me. I'm sorry.
That's,
I sent you that. I sent you that.
She was Lady Deadpool, right?
Well, her voice was Lady Deadpool. Apparently, that was another stunt double or actress.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. You see, Headpool was who was doing that.
But but Nice Pool was pretty funny. I liked when he did his fourth wall breaking. He just goes, "The Notebook."
Oh, is it the proposal?
That was it. Yeah. The proposal. And then Deadpool's like, "Is that what you think I do?" That was good. And then when he gets shot up, and Deadpool's like, "How long does it take you to regenerate?" He's just like, "Regenerate," and all his blood comes out. Oh man, that was good.
I'm cracking up now just because I remember that scene.
Yeah.
And he did it because he wanted his gold-plated Desert Eagles.
Yes. So that's, I mean, there was lots of really funny stuff in the movie. So again, overall, I did enjoy it, despite my gripes. I was worried at the beginning, though.
Yeah.
I liked the mid-credit stinger, which showed like a lot of behind the scenes of the older movies that they had pulled characters from, with a lot of those actors.
Yeah,
it was cool. And the post-credit stinger was really great. With it was more of Chris Evans as Johnny Blaze, and I don't know, he's just cursing his head off. Basically, it was pretty funny. And
it was that. It
if
was
you're
that
listening,
scene,
you probably saw it.
That's because he was telling her he didn't say any of those things,
yes,
and then
he
said exactly that.
Yes. Did you have any more like Easter eggs or anything like that you wanted to discuss?
No, there. I mean, there are a few that like stand out if you're like a comic book nerd. Like one of them was when he's looking for Wolverines, and then there's a scene where there's a Wolverine fighting the Hulk, and he jumps into the middle of that fight.
Oh right, yeah.
And then you see the Hulk's reflection on his claws. Mm-hmm. That was like a total homage to like one of Todd McFarlane's covers.
Oh, okay.
For a Wolverine versus.
Know that.
Yeah, and then there's a store that they get thrown into in like one of the last battles, and then it says like Liefeld's Just Feet.
That one I knew.
You knew that one?
Yeah, Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, that one's hilarious because I was such a huge fan of Rob Liefeld's, and then I even started kind of like drawing kind of like him as a kid, and then I realized too that this guy doesn't know how to draw feet, and it became such a huge just joke in the comic book like among the comic book world. But I mean, Deadpool, so
okay, so I didn't know the whole joke.
Yeah,
I didn't know about the feet thing. I was about to ask. I was like, was there something related to it being just feet? That's pretty funny.
It's because he would draw these really buff characters. It was always like these gruff like superhero poses, the superhero landings, and like throwing something or shooting something, and then there was always clouds of dust around their feet. So you wouldn't have to. He would have to, because it was just always such a weird. Like I'll send you some covers or you could look on the internet, like some of the covers where you can see his feet, and they're just totally different from like other comic book artists' feet. But
sounds like it's a writing problem. They just don't write it where you need to show feet. Problem solved.
Just have dust everywhere and fight in fog.
The dusty X-Men. Do you have anything else before we talk about ranking?
Ooh, no, let's get to it. Yeah, I know we wanted to keep this a little bit short.
I think this will be good. If you have something else, we can talk. I think we got room to spare, but I have checked off all the boxes, I think, for what I wanted to discuss.
No, I think it's good to leave some for the episode when this episode does come, because I am curious where you would put it.
I mean, I'm going to need to watch it probably 2 or 3 more times to really, figure it out. At least figure out, where I would want to rank it, but also, look at a lot more detail of what happened and whatnot. Okay, so let's briefly talk ranking. I do want to say earlier this afternoon, after I saw the movie, I wrote down some scores from Rotten Tomatoes. They might have changed by the time this gets released because it's kind of early yet. But the critics have it at 79% with an average score of 7 out of 10. And the audience has it at 97%.
That's with an insane
average score of 4.7 out of 5. And for comparison, the other two Deadpool movies, the first one is 85% with the critics, 7.1 out of 10. 90% with the audience, 4.3 out of 5. I don't know why they do 1 out of 10 and 1 out of 5, but whatever.
Wow, so this is lower than Deadpool 1?
It's lower than No. Deadpool 1 is lower. The critics have it. Deadpool 1, on the average, more critics liked it, 85% versus 79, but the average score for Deadpool 1 is 7.1 and this is 7.0. Deadpool 2 is almost the same as Deadpool 1 for the critics. And it's a little bit lower for the audience, 85% with an average score of 4.1 out of 5. So this is by far, according to the audience, by far the best Deadpool movie.
Yep.
And according to the critics, it's the third. I don't want to say it's the worst because it makes it sound like it's bad, but it's a definite third. And I think I agree with the critics here. I definitely don't think it's the best one.
Right.
I would have to watch 2 again probably, and also watch this one several more times to really decide. It could be close. But where for you would you rank it in amongst the Deadpools?
Amongst Deadpool, so I'm sort of torn because I did really, really like it, but I also don't know if it's because of all the fan service and the cameos that don't really drive the story forward as much as it makes it. It's just like so much eye candy everywhere.
But the other Deadpools also have fan service and eye candy.
But not as much, much. Cameo wise, definitely not as much as this.
Because the budgets were lower.
Also because the budgets were, there was like brief scenes where like the X-Men were right there in the next room and then they closed the doors because they're hiding from it.
That's right. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah. But I mean, this one is just definitely, it's just over the top, especially with like all the cameos from everybody. But like I sort of torn because I do feel like I like this better than Deadpool 1, but I don't know story-wise if I like it better than Deadpool 1.
Right.
If that makes sense. No,
it makes sense. I for me, I think the story matters more.
Yeah.
And I've seen Deadpool 1 a bunch of times, and I feel like that one's a better story.
I don't disagree.
It doesn't have
it's a better
Wolverine
story.
in it, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't have Wolverine in it.
Okay, and then if you had to rank it in our MCU ranking, where do you think it would go?
I think really I was torn between after Spider-Man Homecoming, which, spoiler alert, is high up there.
Okay.
So it was either, for me, it was after Spider-Man Homecoming or after Iron Man 1.
Okay.
But I think my final placement would be after Iron Man 1.
Okay. So below it, you mean?
Yeah, below it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's significantly higher than what I was thinking.
So we are going to play for. Well, I guess when we do this episode, we are going to.
If we both feel the same, I think is what will be interesting. Like, do I still have the same gripes? Do I still feel the same about the placement?
Yeah.
Etc. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm gonna have to revisit these notes, maybe even listen to this episode when we eventually get to that one again, this one again. Yeah, so I would say somewhere between under number 10, which is Avengers, and above number 14, which is Iron Man 2. And so I think I would
really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely better than Iron Man 2, right? So then,
yes.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, The Incredible Hulk, and the Avengers. So I don't think it's better than the Avengers because of the importance of the Avengers. Like this is some silly side thing that doesn't ultimately matter, and if anything, is ruining things. Is my current take on it right now.
Okay.
But so then, as I go down the list, the Incredible Hulk, I think it is better than the Incredible Hulk, but because of you, it's ranked too high. Ant-Man, I'm not sure if it's better than Ant-Man or not. I do like Ant-Man, but that one I have a lot of problems with.
Right.
Doctor Strange, I think, is a good and an important movie. So I'm not sure if it's better than that. But then I go down to number 14, Iron Man 2, definitely better than that. So that's
right.
how I was justifying my range of placement. So if I had to put it in right now, I think I would put it in just above Iron Man 2, and maybe it'll go up, and then we come back around to it.
You said just above Iron Man 2, right?
I think that's what I said. That's what I meant to say.
No, I just want to double check. I want to put it in my notes where you're putting it.
Okay.
Or where we're both putting it.
What I would like actually is to put the notes that you have, and I'll put them in the document that we would normally share, and I'll put my notes in that we'd normally share, and then we have it all in one place as well.
Yeah.
And that'll make it easier to come back to later. So we're pretty far apart on this one.
We are.
And we'll see if we come together at all or grow farther apart.
I do remember. I remember texting you right after I saw it, because I saw it opening day. I think my text to you was that definitely in the top half. So it's interesting that for you it's on the bottom.
Oh, that's right. You did. I forgot that you said that. That's funny. Yeah. Or maybe subconsciously I didn't, and I'm doing this despite you. So we're not going to do Infinity Saga Trivial Pursuit Poker because this is supposed to be short and we're not really ranking it. So it really doesn't matter this time.
It's just our first impressions of Deadpool and Wolverine.
And that's it for our quick take on Deadpool and Wolverine. Next, we'll go back to our normal progression with Spider-Man Homecoming. If you want to contact us, you can email us at absolutelythebestpodcasts@gmail.com. Join our Discord, link is in the show notes. We have links there to our socials and a couple ways you can support the show. Please leave us a review, and please help us spread the word. Oh, I didn't do it. Tell your friends.
I guess you could do it after.
Yeah, I could. I'll do the old standby for now. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell your friend's grandma. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.
Absolutely the Best Podcast is a production of Audio Johnny, a subsidy of Corporation Johnny.
Corporation Johnny. If it exists, we own it.